fights through the screen. Cunningham gets the ball, gets Bam. Pulls up for the win. Got it! Detroit basketball. Look at this. From center ice. It's Patrick Kane in Chicago. Oh my God. With the overtime winner. Time that they didn't. And first and goal. And the inside run for Gibbs. Still going to the goal line. Number 4 on the night. A night to remember. Runner goes, pitch is swung on. A high fly ball to right field. This one is gonna fly. A 3-run home run. Kerry Carpenter.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Detroit Sports Sit Down. My name is Tom Murphy Jr. and my brother Dan. He is not here with us tonight because I got two All-Stars with me. I got my friend Anthony and I got my friend Kendal, and we are going to talk hoops tonight. NBA free agency is going crazy, and we're going to talk all about it, man. This is the Detroit Sports Sit Down Hoops edition. And fellas, what a wild. I mean, okay. The NBA offseason is always kind of crazy, right? It's always a lot of fun to see the trades and the free agents and the draft and all that and see how your team's going to shape up. And everybody knows like the NFL is king, so like their draft is the most fun. Their free agency is always pretty crazy. But the NBA does have like a lockdown on free agency and like this little period, right? And it's a lot of fun. And so tonight we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna focus on the Pistons because this is the Detroit Sports Sit Down. But we're gonna talk about a lot of these different moves because man, the NBA, they are movers and shakers, man. And there's so many things to talk about right now, right? Um, so look, we're gonna get this party started right now with Kendall. I want to start with you. All right, you're wearing that Warrior shirt. You know, I don't even know who is that. Steph,
That's
Draymond,
playing
and
Draymond, you know how that goes. You know what I'm saying? The
yeah,
big three out there.
those are days past, right? Uh,
Big two now, big two.
Big 1.5,
I was
maybe.
about to say
Yeah.
that big 1.5.
It might be just big one if the Giannis thing goes a certain way. So we'll see what happens.
Don't be disrespecting Draymond Green. He
I
might be
love
a
Draymond.
Piston.
I'm a Spartan. You know what I'm saying? I defend Draymond's honor every time it comes up. All right. People love to disrespect Draymond. It doesn't happen around me. I'll fight to the death for the guy.
Yeah, there you go. But okay, so speaking of like hometown people, speaking of the Detroit Pistons, I want to get your first thoughts, Kendall, on the Pistons free agency, bringing back two Michigan boys, Karis LeVert, Duncan Robinson, you know, putting some shooters around Cade. Clearly, we're going to talk about Malik Beasley and that whole situation. But just the signing of the two shooters that played at Michigan, what are your initial thoughts about that, Kendall?
I think it's kind of fortuitous, right? You signed Duncan Robinson, who's like the specialized sharpshooter, like coming off screens, getting the ball up kind of in the midst of the Malik Beasley situation. So you almost like we don't really know what's going to happen with Malik yet, so we can't get a great feel for like what his upcoming season looks like. If he gets one, who knows? Like John Tay Porter is done, right? So like we don't necessarily know what's going to happen with that, but. You have a guy like Duncan Robinson who spaces the floor, gives Cade more room to work with. Same thing with Karis LeVert. I like the size of both of them, 6'6", 6'7", keeping size on the court. You're not too small. Neither one of them are going to be lighting the world on fire defensively, but you're not necessarily looking for that. I think you're looking to expand the offense and kind of get guys who can reliably make shots for you down the stretch. So I personally really like both of the moves, adding them on. It's not the superstar banger that we were everybody hopes for, no matter what free agency looks like. It's potentially on the table. We'll probably touch on that in a moment, but we'll see what happens as far as that goes. But I like what I'm seeing so far. I think these were good moves.
Yeah. Anthony, all right, so like touching on what Kendall just said, the big move. Do you think the Pistons even needed a big move? Because mind you, Isaiah Stewart and Ivy were both out. Like, so is the GM Trajan Langdon like doing the right move of just getting shooters around Cade and not making the big splash because this team made such a stride without two of the potential pieces, especially Ivy.
I think making a big move is never a bad move, but only if need be. Like you were saying, I don't think it's something that the Pistons necessarily need because, like you said, they were missing Isaiah Stewart and Ivy at the end of the year. I don't know how well Ivy and Cade how much will mesh with each other, just because we've never fully seen that for a full season yet. That was my only concern going into this offseason was if they dropped off, if they dumped Ivy somewhere and able to get something back. My initial thought was getting like when I seen Kevin Durant got traded, Devin Booker. I thought they might have tried to put something together with Ivy and all that, try to get him out here. Outside of that, I do think the other two signings were great moves. I don't think they're as versatile as Malik Beasley, Duncan Robinson, or Levert. I think Levert is a great option off the bench, especially losing Schroeder as well. So I think that adds some of that offensive power off the bench. But Duncan Robinson would also be a good fit. Also coming from Miami, so he comes from someone who is a hardworking organization. So I think that would help with a lot of the veteran um, group that they will need because I think that that's
Yeah,
one thing that they are lacking a lot of vets.
yeah.
So that's one thing that they do need.
You are actually right about that, man. This is a young roster who, let's not forget, they won 14 games last year, man.
Yeah.
14 games. To go from 14 games to taking the Knicks to the brink in that playoff run, like, and I definitely understand what you're saying, man. Like, you do need some veteran presence and some of it, like Tim Hardaway, he's gone. Schroeder is gone. Like these guys, there was a veteran presence there, but they weren't the leaders. They weren't the stars, man.
Yeah.
Like Cade is the leader. Cade is the star. And these young up and coming kids, man, like they are the ones. So like I and like do you think it's a bad thing that Tim Hardaway is gone and that um, who else is left?
Schroeder.
Yeah, Schroeder. Yeah, and he does like it sucks because I did like Schroeder a lot, man. I think he came on and played well, and
I think getting rid of Tim Hardaway wasn't a bad option because I think we replaced that with Karis LeVert or Duncan Robinson. So I don't think getting rid of Tim Hardaway was that bad. I mean, especially throughout the playoffs, he stunk the building up. I hated seeing him in the playoffs. But Schroeder, I think, was a big loss for us only because he took some of that heavy load off of Cade. When we sat Cade down, he was able to come in and still, control the game for the most part. So I think losing Schroeder was a big loss for us in the most part, but Tim Hardaway, I feel like he's very replaceable.
yeah. What do you think, Kendall, with that part of the Pistons roster shaping up? Like, is what we lost versus what we gained? Have we won? Now, again, I'm about to get it into Beasley because that's a whole. It's gonna be like a 45-minute conversation. But just on the face of Detroit's free agency, and mind you, man, we drafted a shooter like second round, whatever. But the kid's a shooter, right? So
Yeah.
we drafted another shooter. But Kendall, in your mind, have the Pistons won, lost, or just doing what they should have done and just stayed the course?
I think that in a situation like where the Pistons are, and kind of when you take the landscape of the East and then the league in general, um, always too early to say whether somebody won or lost in free agency. Like every team thinks they're the free agent champions every year. unless you're the Golden State Warriors. That's where this isn't about them right now. The what I would say about like what I like about the Pistons, just to circle back to something you guys were just talking about, veteran leadership, right? So in my mind, when I was watching this Knicks series, and you look at how close these games were towards the end of the game, that to me screams lack of veteran leadership. So I'm
Yeah.
looking at situations where it's like poor late game execution to me, not because the players aren't good enough, but because they like are probably a little too into it in the moment. That's one of the things I really like about the Duncan Robinson edition, which is that like not only is he, 30 now, so he's been around the league for a while, but he also like he wasn't playing on Miami teams that were terrible. Like these Miami teams, obviously this is mostly a Jimmy Butler thing, but and Bam Adebayo, but these were contending Miami teams. So you have like somebody who comes from like somewhat of a culture of winning. We talk about Eric Spoelstra, we talk about Pat Riley and kind of what they built together in Miami over the years. I think that's really good additions for the team. Um, I do think that something that Anthony has brought up about losing Schroeder as far as secondary ball handling, I do think that's a bit of a conversation to be had about this team right now, as currently constructed, is in the minutes that Cade is sitting down, or if teams are like really playing hard ball denial and not necessarily allowing him to touch the ball, especially as you get like deeper into the season and we think about maybe like a playoff run next year. I do think that that is something that becomes a bit of a question down the stretch is, all right, who can create and then who can create for themselves as well? Because I do think that Karras can do it a little bit. He's got somewhat can play that way, but I think that is a big question. And I agree. I'm not personally a huge Tim Hardaway Jr. fan. I'm not a big Dennis Schroeder fan either. So I'm not necessarily like super bummed that we're losing either one of those guys. But I do think that from the standpoint of what I've seen so far in the midst of like a East which feels really wide open this year due to all the injuries, and kind of the way that I think rosters are constructed in the NBA now, especially after the new CBA and the changes to like luxury tax and the first and second apron and kind of discouraging these like three or four like big three, big four kind of constructed teams. I like the way the Pistons look. Obviously, I think Cade is ascending to superstar level. So he gets better, Sora gets better, Isaiah Stewart gets better. As everybody continues to grow, this team's got a really bright future. And I like the idea of like, obviously, I think that, and kind of what Anthony said, you can make a splash. Then I think you always chase talent if you can get it. But as for what we're looking at right now, I think they're looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta agree with that, man. So, all right, Anthony, you had touched on, and this is something I'm really interested in because it's been a conversation, and we haven't seen it really yet. Can Cade and Ivy coexist? And we love Devin Booker, man. I think everybody in Detroit loves us some Devin Booker, man. So Phoenix is doing some stuff out there. It looks like they're rebuilding. Obviously, they traded Durant. Devin Booker, he Flint guy. Like, what do you think, Anthony? Like, can Cade and Ivy coexist, or is there a move to be made there with our friend Kevin or our friend Devin Booker?
I think they can. I think, but it's not going to be the way that we seen them play last year. I think it's gonna if they coexist with each other, it's gonna be more of Ivy and the ball more in Ivy's hands and more Cade playing that off ball type game. Only because I think Ivy only excels so much with the ball in his hand. And I think Cade can do more of both. And like we were saying with them losing Schroeder, I think that helps with him being, if he's in denial, I think that's somebody that can attack off with the ball. I think he can create his own shot and everything. But if it's vice versa, where the ball's still gonna be ball dominant in Cade's hand, I don't think Ivy will survive in that game. I just because he needs the ball so much and able to. I think he's a very volume shooter and a very ball dominant guard, which is nothing against his game. I think that's just how he survives. To me, I think he's a lot similar to a broke man's or a poor man's Russell Westbrook. He's going to give you all he got, but he needs to be seen that he has given you all he has. And unfortunately, some guys just don't mesh well with that, or he doesn't mesh well with that team that they have. I just don't think if it comes to being down to that and he doesn't adapt, I don't think they go well together.
Do you think there's a move to be made with Booker?
Yeah, I think if you get rid of like Ivy and even Isaiah Stewart and you get rid of 2 first-round picks, I don't think that's a loss. You still have Duran. You still have Aiton who's still on the board. You can still go get for a league minimum. There's still a lot of options you can still in the offseason. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for. If they think that core that they have is very good, which I do agree with, and they think that is what's making them strive so far in this playoff run or this season that they had currently, I think they keep that team together. I think they give it one last shot and just see what they got with it. Because like I said, we didn't see Ivy and Cade ever play together for a full season. So I say it might be a good shot to give it. And then Isaiah Stewart's always going to have because he pretty much stands what Detroit's always been about. He brings that bad boys out that we've always had. So it would be great to have both of them. But again, a big move is never a bad move.
And Keno, like, what do you think about that situation? Because that's probably like for me, watching all the trades go down and like all this different stuff they have. Because the NBA, man, like I said, that's one of the funnest things about the NBA in the offseason, seeing who's going where and what trade just happened, and then you get to talk about, oh, what if we do this for this and blah blah blah. Do you see a reason for the Pistons to make a move on not even Booker, but like a person like Booker? Like, do you see a reason
Or
for the Pistons to make a move like that, or just let it
so
run?
I think that the reason that you do that is because you look at the current landscape of the East and you say, okay, probably the favorite now? All right, is it New York? Well, we played New York really tight, right, last year with the roster that is for all intents and purposes not as good as theirs, or at least on paper it's not. So if we make a big splash and you get an incredibly high caliber player like a Devin Booker, does that get us over the top? Maybe in a situation where you're having a hard time finding buckets down the stretch. Well, Devin Booker's going to get you a bucket. That's never really like the problem, right? So I think that like that it would be the justification for it. Obviously, it's all about what do you have to give up to get there.
Yeah.
My concern would be is Devin Booker has predominantly out like Devin Booker has shown, I think, in the Olympics and somewhat in this last like iteration of like this attempted super team in Phoenix, that he can take a backseat if he's surrounded by guys who I think he has respect for and who he would say is like better than him or deserve that level of reverence. You know, basically at the Olympics, he was a 3 and D guy. That was LeBron, KD, and Steph show, right? Like and then even in Phoenix, like if KD's there, all right, like KD gets to do his thing and I'll like get mine where I can fit in. My only concern about it from a fit standpoint is that you have an ascending guy like Cade. I don't want Cade deferring too much to Book. And do I think that Book is a smart enough player to understand the situation and understand that he doesn't necessarily need to, okay, I'm going to come here and I'm going to come to Detroit. Now I got to be the guy here the way I was in Phoenix. Do I think he would understand that? Yes. But I do think that there's a little bit of concern of fit there. Especially if he's not necessarily going to be like the one that's like leading the team. I think that kind of leads more into Book maybe being like tired of losing, right? You're what, 2, 3 years out of an NBA Finals run at this point, and now you're like basically looking at this Phoenix team like we don't even have a roster really. We're all shooting guards at this point. So I think that I don't necessarily think that you have to make the move if the terms of it don't make sense. I like what Anthony mentioned, a guy like, Ivy, Isaiah Stewart, a couple picks, maybe some cash or whatever, like however you make the money work. I like something like that. I don't necessarily believe in blowing the team up just to grab Devin Booker and like trying to build from there. Um, so I think there's a justification for it. That would always come back to like what is the actual return on that. And I think that to me, it kind of is a similar situation almost to when you think about the LA Rams in uh 2021 when they went to the Super Bowl against Cincinnati. Um,
Yeah, I believe so.
When they took
all
our quarterback and our
right,
quarterback won a Super Bowl?
right
Yeah, I
when they
remember
took
that one, bro.
right. So you basically say, all right, like we feel like we have an opportunity. The roster's at a certain point. Picks be damned, money be damned. All chips in. Let's go
Hey,
get it, right?
it is bleep them picks, by the way.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Bleep
So
them picks.
right. So I think it's kind of more so like that. Like you look at the East, you said like we could beat New York. We're not scared of Philly or whoever else. Let's go make a finals run, right? And I think that that's kind of what a Devin Booker move looks like. Is
Yeah.
we're just gonna go try to make a run at it and see if we can go like essentially steal a finals real quick away from another team.
Well, oh wow, God, that's a crazy statement, man. Steal the final. You don't steal the finals, man. You go win it. You win it.
What
You
about
win
Drew
it. You
Holiday
don't.
though? What if they got a small? What if they made a small big move like Drew Holiday, like loaded up
Yeah.
to more defensive end? Because like we were saying, I mean, I feel like they have a lot of good offensive power, but what if they? I mean, Drew Holiday has showed every team that he's been in his last
Yeah.
he's won a championship. He's
Yeah.
back in Portland, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
I think they're gonna dump him off sometime throughout this year. What if they went and got somebody like him?
Not a bad thought.
I like Drew from a defensive and a secondary ball handling spot. I think that's like a good fit for sure. Veteran leadership, it would make sense as long as the money made sense for sure. I don't want to
He goes back
overpay
to the
for.
East. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, but if he gets released by Portland again, you don't have to pay him at all. They'll pay that, and then you just pay him on the back end.
Yeah, they're already paying Aiden, so who cares about Portland's
Yeah.
got going on. So
Ah, fellas. All right, I'm gonna stop this train, take it right off the tracks, bring on some bad news. I think we all heard it. Because speaking of NBA free agency, we had a dude that we all liked. He was about to be signed for a 3-year, $40 million contract. And then guess what? FBI investigation. Fellas, Malik Beasley. And I know y'all are younger than me, so you probably might even know more than me because all the TikTok, all everything without your Twitter went bananas, or like so you started seeing all the clips, all the stuff, all the rumors coming out. Now the rumors just went bananas, but let me set the scene here, fellas. We live in an age where we can gamble on sports on our phone. If we watch a game, every commercial is about a gambling site. Jerry Jones, who owns the Dallas Cowboys, is I think he owns DraftKings, or at least a big part of it, right?
I believe so.
Gambling and sports have always been intertwined, but it is way crazier and way bigger than it's ever been. However, whenever something like this comes out, it hits you in the face. And Malik Beasley, gambler, point shaving, not even point shaving, like prop betting, like prop betting and all that. Um, Fellas, it hurts my heart to even talk about it because I'm a Malik Beasley fan. Um, but there's some things to talk about here. All right. So, all right, Anthony, I'm gonna let you go first, man. Like, all right, hold up. Like, innocent till proven guilty. Allegations, whatever. Like, he's not been charged with nothing, nothing like that. But good Lord, it does not look good for Malik Beasley. What are your initial thoughts about this situation, Anthony?
Well, first things first. I wish he would have called me because I would have loved to win some of that money. Um, but after that, um, I don't know. I like Kendall was saying earlier, the guy from Toronto. I mean, he shot himself out the league, and he was a nobody. Malik Beasley was just the league leader in threes this year,
Oh,
right? I mean, that just looks bad for the
And
NBA.
he
I
went
think
he went ice cold in the playoffs. But look, a lot of it they're saying it comes from back when he's playing with the Timberwolves.
the
But
Lakers.
now you're questioning because this dude went from like you just said. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No,
like that's what it is. This dude went from leading the league and like and then to ice cold. Now it's got you thinking.
you're right. So I don't know if he ends up being charged for it. I think he's out the league permanently. I don't think he
Oh
has a
yeah.
chance
Oh,
to
there's
ever
no
come back.
doubt. He's getting the Pete
Um,
Rose treatment, dude.
but like we were saying earlier, I think that is kind of a loss for the Pistons. I don't think that was something they were expecting to happen. Uh, you lose the number one guy in threes. You go down to Duncan Robinson. Not saying Duncan Robinson's not a bad 3-point shooter, but that's just a big drop off. Rather, whoever it may be, if you're not one of the top 10 guys in the league, shooting wise, I mean, it is going to be a big drop to me. So I think that is a big concern that we may have. I hope some way where he doesn't get charged for all this. So it is a great thing that we may be able to keep him. But in reality, if it is, I think he's permanently be out the league. But again, if we can keep him, I would love to have him. It's just I just wish he would have let me know because I could have used a few of them dollars.
Oh Lord! All right, Kendall, what are your thoughts on this, man? Especially with some of the things that have gone on social, because now everybody's putting these old clips out. You guys see the one where like the point spread was 8.5, and
He hurried up, ran
he's
down the
begging
court,
for
and
the
they lost by
ball, and
six and a half.
he's like, oh man, give me the ball. And he runs down and to dunk it,
Yeah,
and now the point spread was covered. That's some shady stuff, man. Like you can't like that's on film, man. Like you can't deny that, man. Like, did you just really want to go dunk the ball up by 9 points? Like,
It's hard to find a an angle of, especially that clip. That was one of the worst ones I saw because that
oh,
was
yeah.
just, it's so hard to find a justification for
it
that, right?
is, bro.
Like a lot of times you can be like, maybe whatever, like this reason, blah, but that one was tough. I think that here's what I think that here's, so there's a few things here. From the standpoint of the Pistons, right? Obviously, that sucks. You lose the league leader in threes. You have an idea about roster construction and kind of how you want to space the floor. You lose a big part of the piece of spacing the floor. Um, that obviously hurts, especially like kind of what you're um looking to do, and especially for a situation that, based on what the FBI is looking into, is things that primarily happened before he was even on your team. So like that is like that
Yeah,
sucks. I'm not. I will say that for me, in my mind, immediately went past the Pistons and kind of I saw more reporting about Malik Beasley's personal situation. I saw a report that
yeah,
says that he owes $26,000 to a barber. I saw that he owes over $10,000 to a dentist.
yeah. Let's not
Um,
forget the $500,000 that his marketing agency was coming at him for.
yeah, right. So here's the thing, right? Like from the barber angle, Malik Beasley's like a decent looking dude, no problem, right? Here's my thing. You're spending $26,000 on haircuts. Malik Beasley does not have a $26,000 haircut. It's a very average haircut, right? Like there's like you could go walk down Woodward and you'll find 150 guys with the
Hey man,
same
shout
hair.
out to Lady J's, man. They give me good deals for like $35,
Right,
dude.
exactly. You get a show too. It's like a value, right? So who knows what Malik Beasley have? Like, I feel like from that standpoint, no one's ever went to their barber and pulled up a picture of Malik Beasley and was like, "This is exactly what I want to look like." It's
I
really
need
not
this
yeah, exactly. That's never happened, right? So that's
Anthony,
like
have you ever had a haircut, bro?
every 3 months.
maybe next time pull up a picture of Malik Beasley. This is a $26,000 haircut right here.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
but here's what I think that it's like you mentioned, Tom, to kind of open this. Sports betting has obviously become a very large part of
Oh yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
sports culture in the US now, right? Even it's like I knew we were cooked when ESPN had their own sports book. As soon as I saw ESPN bet, I was like, oh, we're completely out of
Right.
we're out of the realm of possibility here.
We're in the new world order, man.
Yeah. Here's if there's are any athletes listening to this podcast, I'm sure there are, right? Here's the strategy, okay? You gotta pull a Shohei Ohtani, right?
Oh, come on now.
if you're gonna gamble, you gotta
Send
get
it
a
to me.
guy, right, to do
You
it
might
for
have to
you.
go away for 5 years, but if you get out, you're
You're
gonna be
good,
rich.
but we're good though, right? Because the bag keeps rolling. All right, what'd you say? 3 years, $40 billion. All that's gone now. Or sorry, it could be gone now.
Oh, Malik's, yeah, 3 year, 41 million.
Yeah,
It was supposed to be signed. Like it was
yeah.
signed. It was ready.
So with that being the case, listen, I'm again, court of law showing had nothing to do with it. He didn't know. Court of this podcast, let's be serious here. You can find a guy who's willing to do that 5 year bid for you, and then everything works out and you wash your hands of it, and it didn't happen, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's like the larger lesson here is number one, this is stupid. It seems to be that Malik Beasley had a lot of money problems, and it's insane to me that in the year of our Lord 2025, we're still doing this with athletes when we have all of this like material and resources and information about athletes going broke, and it's something that's been happening for since the dawn of contracts that were six figures and up, right? Like this should not be happening anymore. The clips are hilarious. I'm it's, like, especially like you
They
said, the
are.
one where he's begging for the ball.
I know. Give
Um,
me the ball. Give me the ball.
yeah,
And he just, dude, I've never seen a man run so fast, dude.
no,
He's like,
absolutely. All
I got 1.5 seconds to get this ball in
yeah,
here.
all the prosecutor's gonna do is play that one clip and be like, "Yes, like, what else are we doing?" And then that's the other basically doing right. So
Oh Lord.
it's a bad look. And for the players, I need you to be smart. This is not like I know this is not what we're talking about, but like a, a more serious example of we saw what happened with Deshaun Watson, right?
Yeah.
Justin Tucker. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, come on. I mean, that's two different things, man.
It's no,
Yeah, I'm about to say that.
it's completely not the same thing, but I need
It's
like
athletes being idiots, like
exactly. You have to be like stop doing weird shit. You're millionaires. Like it's not that hard. Stop being weird. You're
yeah.
making guaranteed money in the NBA. You should never owe a barber $26,000. These are very obvious
All right,
things.
Kendall, you're right there, bro. Like, why do? Come on, bro. You like $26,000. I mean, like, and I would like to know what barber works there. And like I said, Lady Jane's, like shout out to Lady. I'm hoping to get like like a
Sponsor spot,
advertisement.
like
Yeah, some sponsorship through Lady Jane's. That'd be great, man.
right.
I'd be spending a lot of money at Lady Jane's, man.
Also,
But
another
no,
question
man,
is,
twenty six
they owe him
thousand, dude.
twenty
I
six
would like to
thousand.
know where the place he was getting his hair cut, because I bet there's some money laundering, there's some mob stuff going on there. You know. But like Anthony, like, okay, with you too, man, like we're in this day and age of not even just like the pros and of it, and like people saying, well, what about these NIL kids, man? Like, dude, what do you think's gonna happen? And these kids spending their money now. We're giving 18-year-olds $1 million. So what do you think they're gonna do with that money? Invest it? Buy land? No, they're gonna buy every pair of Jordans they can find. Like, dude, this culture is insane, man. Like, and these people, they do. But man, it's funny because I woke up this morning, man, and I sleep with the TV on, right? And of course the sports stuff. And this morning it was for some reason it was the 30 for 30 of the college basketball point shaving scandal back with the mobsters. Uh like Henry Hill from Goodfellas and all that from Boston College back in the 70s. And bro, this dude, it's so bananas, man, because dude, this stuff has been going on since the beginning of time, man. This is nothing new. It's just that the NBA wants nothing to do with it, and if anything comes out that Malik was manipulating games, he's gonna get the hammer. There's no doubt about it because it's the last. It's you go back to the referee Tim Donaghy, where I was watching that because Chris Webber is one of my favorite players. The Sacramento versus LA. What was it, 2002, 2003, something like that? Tim Donaghy went to prison for it, and NBA's like, oh, he's just this one road guy, man. Hell no, he wasn't. He didn't talk. But you would do gambling in sports, especially because the problem is with point shaving, or now we got the prop bets and all that. Basketball is the one sport where you can manipulate one person, especially two, can manipulate the entire game. You can't manipulate a football game when there's 22, you know, like you can't manipulate. One person can't manipulate. Maybe Pat Mahomes, like maybe the quarterback, maybe. But in basketball, like that's the one sport, man, where it can be manipulated and everybody knows it because it's been going on since the beginning of time. We just choose not to believe it. But this Malik Beasley situation, and the fact that he's a Piston, it just hurts your heart, man. But
I think
so,
that we sorry to jump in here, but I think
oh no,
that
yeah, sorry, I ran out of breath, man. I'm glad
I think
you.
that one thing that you have to kind of contextualize as a sports fan is that, especially in the NBA, we allow point manipulation all the time because we understand that the game is refereed different during the playoffs, right? So it's like that's like literally
Yeah, that's a
that's
good
like
point, Kendall, for real.
like so like we know, right, the effects of of just like ratings and stuff like that, and how like it can affect the, and also just like unwritten rules and stuff like that about officiating during like playoff series, right? So I think that when it comes from like the NBA standpoint, like you mentioned, you don't really want anything to do with it because mostly because gambling has a negative connotation. You have to keep an illusion of fairness in your sport, right?
I
Like
love the word illusion, dude. That's a perfect word for that,
right.
dude.
But the ultimately here, and you touched on it with the NIL thing, like I've always been one, like I'm very pro player, very
Yeah,
pro athlete.
me too.
I've always wanted these kids to get paid. Did I
Yeah.
think that it would look like this? Absolutely not. I never thought that the college kids getting paid would look like this. These guys have like Bentleys and Rolexes. Never saw that coming. I just thought they were going to make like 50K, and we were like going to call everybody's going to be fine, right? But these NIL deals are insane. I do think, and like I hope, and again, like you're any athlete listening, if you're especially if you're an athlete that's going to be worth anything or are worth anything, like there are so many resources available to you for you to not blow your money. Um, Please take advantage of them because it is like you this is how you don't end up like Malik Beasley. This is how you end up like not in these situations where you're broke or you owe the mob money or you owe like your marketing company or
Or you
whatever.
got
Like
you got four kids from four baby mamas, and they all get $50,000 a month.
yeah, like that's insane, right? That's something that may be tenable when you're making 41 million guaranteed, but now you're looking at Fed time. It's a completely different situation now. So it's like, you have to like keep you, keep the main thing the main thing. I think that's like why you kind of prefer like the more quiet and like out of the way athletes generally because it feels like you don't have to worry about stuff like this as opposed to some of the like the more show off guys. I think this sucks. It's obviously sucks for the Pistons. I'm making jokes, but I think it's a crappy situation for Malik to be in and his family, and I'm sure that this is awful. Um, do I feel as bad for him as I might feel for other human beings? Not necessarily, because I think that you should know better. But I
He made it. He made some trade. He got to the upper echelon, and then he
yeah,
made some choices,
like
man.
it doesn't
But
feel like anyone stole from him.
yeah,
Right?
no,
Some guys get stolen from. That's a different
yeah.
situation. He just made really poor decisions, and for that you got to kind of lay in the bed you make, basically.
All right, Anthony. Let's oh man, it's fun. I knew it was gonna be fun. I love you guys, man. This is so much fun. Thanks for coming on the Detroit Sports Sit Down, fellas. All right, let's go back to like actual basketball, man. Anthony, what is your not necessarily your favorite off-season situation, but like what's your most intriguing? What are you most interested in? What is your most interesting move NBA wise of the off-season so far?
The wave of Damian Lillard. personally, to me, I'm the biggest Dame Lillard fan. So
Dude, I love that guy, dude. He's one of my
um,
favorite NBA players, man. Okay.
I think that was very um, sad to see, but I know it's going to be great for him in the long run because now it makes him decide. He can now decide where he wants to go, something he's never had been able to do for his career. So I think that's be something good for him. It also gives him some more stability to actually hone in on his rehab and take that serious as much as he can. And so when that time comes in February next year, he kind of has that decision on his own to make where he wants to go. Outside of that, I would say the Houston move is probably the biggest move that I've seen happen this offseason so far with the Durant, just because they were the third in the West last year. So to see them make that big move, do they think this puts them over the hump? I'm not quite sure. You still got OKC who's out there is very strong. So I don't know if they made enough moves and able to make them over that hump. But it was good to see that they thought they were good enough contenders to do it. But outside of that, I think all these other ones are minimal. The only ones that I think are making big hard pushes is every team that's making a move in the East, only because, like we were saying earlier, the East is so wide open. So I think every team in the East, as long as they're making a move to be better, is kind of good. The biggest team that I've seen done that would be Orlando. I think Orlando
Yeah.
Desmond Bain and not really getting rid of anything in my eyes was a great move for them. I think them first round picks they got rid of, I think they're going to be good all them years, so it doesn't really matter to them. So I think Desmond Bain on the East is the best move they made for Orlando. I think made the best move, but outside of that, Dame and obviously Kevin Durant because that's one of my other favorite players.
All right, I'm gonna get back to you with that same question real quick, but I am a huge Dame Dollar fan too, dude. It's always Dame time, baby. What time is it?
Always.
It's Dame time. You know, like, and he did, man. He tried to bring Portland a championship. He tried to be the man in there and like do his thing, and he did for many years. Portland, they had some exciting moments, man, but never got over the hump. He got traded, or however that worked out. Went to Milwaukee, and now he blew out the ankle. Now don't cry for Dame Dollar because he's getting his whole contract stretched over the next 5 years, and he can go play for whoever he wants to get a whole brand new contract. I believe. I don't think. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know the structure of it, but I think
Yep.
he
That's
just
all I'm
goes
asking. His
somewhere,
next contract is just add on to that contract they
no
already.
matter what. Yeah, yeah. So don't cry for Dame. He gonna be all right. But with a guy like Dame, like he's gonna come out, dude. He tore that Achilles, man, and he's getting long on the tooth, man. What do you like as a Dame fan? Where do you think his career goes at this point?
I think he chases for the next 5 years that they owe him. I think he would literally sign if he was smart, he would sign a 1 year deal every year and chase the title.
Chase a title.
Whoever is the top of whoever he thinks has the best contention that year, just sign with them. You
Yeah,
get paid.
but
You're getting
from
paid
legacy
25
terms, man,
million.
like KD did that, and people don't. People are like, oh, you had to go to,
But to
you
me,
had to
he's in a
go to
different
Golden
boat.
State.
He
Your
got
titles don't
waived.
even matter. Like,
He got waived. The Bucks told him, "Hey, look, you've done enough for us. We're just gonna pay you out. We're gonna let you do what you got to do." And all in my eyes, I think that's totally different. We've never seen anybody that's been paid or been as he's a top 75 player. We've never seen anybody that's that high in the league or that favored in the league ever been bought out his contract like that. So I
yeah,
think this is a very different scenario. The first scenario we've ever seen. If I was him, I would just literally chase those rings. I know it's something that we don't like seeing, but to be all honesty, he's 35 years old.
yeah.
At this point, your
Like when
only
you're a
best bet
champion,
to
you're a
build
champion
on your
forever,
legacy,
dude. Like nobody can
exactly,
take that
is to
away.
build on your champions, is to build on your legacy right now, is
Yep.
your only best bet for your career. And I think to do that, would be chase titles.
Yeah. Kendall, what is your most intriguing off-season scenario right now?
Before I get there, I do want to touch on the Dame situation because I
Yeah,
think
okay.
this is really interesting, kind of also like juxtaposed to the situation with Kyrie, right? Because Kyrie, obviously, ACL is not as severe as Achilles, and Kyrie is a little younger. So here's I think that if you're Dame, right, and what Italy said, like I think I agree to a certain extent. Like what you're looking to solidify your whole career with is like to get that championship, right? Um, I personally was one of the people who was very, very surprised to see Dame make that All NBA 75 team. One of the reasons specifically was he was never a champion. And to me, it was like hard to justify that with like the lack of like nothing like you don't have crazy individual accolades, and then you also don't have like the team accolade either. So I don't even know how you're on that list, especially above a guy like Dwight Howard. Neither here nor there, right? So I think that is a situation of kind of like you said, like when you rehab, you come back, you try to find like a spot to where they're not going to be expecting you to be like the savior of that team. Because as we saw, like even if you're like healthy, that injury still takes a lot of time for you to kind of get back up to speed with. So you're missing it's a 1 year injury that really takes like 2.5 years from you, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, right? So it's like it's gonna take some time, but then we're talking about a guy who's gonna be a guy who's gonna be 37, 38, who is maybe not going to be able to provide the same value for a team. I said this about Kyrie, and I think to a certain extent, I agree with Dan as well. I think what you're looking at as far as like aging as a guard, you really want to, I think your mind needs to kind of almost get into like Chris Paul in Phoenix mode in the sense of like, it's not my job to go out there and get them 27 a night anymore. It's not my job to like be trying to like break down the defense every time and do this and that. Take advantage of your mismatches, set up the young guys, you find your spots, get to your spots, what I'm saying, and be reliable that way because you're not 24 coming back from that injury. You're in your mid 30s. It's different. As far as your question though, I think the most interesting to me, the outside of the Houston thing, and I think everybody's really paying attention to Houston because anytime a guy like Kevin Durant changes teams, that's going to draw a lot of attention,
Yeah.
especially if you trade a guy like Jalen Green, who, you
Who,
know,
man, sorry, Ken, I don't mean to cut you off, but how interesting is it with the discussion between, because remember, when the Pistons had that first pick, it was, do you take Cade or you take Green? So
mhm,
it's pretty clear the Pistons won that one, right?
sure, absolutely. But I do think that Jalen, I know, especially after the Warriors series, a lot of people are really out on Jalen. I still believe that
I still
Jalen can
like
be
him.
a guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think to me the biggest thing that happened in that Warriors series was he just stopped being aggressive scoring. I think that he like completely deferred to like the rest of the team. And like again, Amen was hooping, Alfred was hooping, Steven Adams was like the difference maker, and he almost won the series single handedly. Like I get it, but Jalen is like supposed to be the ascending superstar player, so it's like you would like to see him kind of take more control of that game. But
Yeah.
I think that obviously when you have like a guy like KD who is still KD, but definitely on like the backswing of his career versus Jalen, to where you still have a little bit of potential left, at least you think so. That's always going to be a very interesting decision to make at that point to go with somebody to make that move.
Yeah.
So you're obviously like kind of banking on like Alperen is going to continue to develop, Amen is going to continue to develop, and Katie will get you over the hump. I think that in the West, especially with how deep these teams are, what I was going to say is to me, the really interesting team right now is Denver. And I know that like they're not interesting in the sense of like who was expecting Denver to be good because they've been good forever now, but like trading MPJ, who, while clearly is not like the brightest human ever, but is a still really interesting player because I think that we like you have the big back injury in college, which basically takes away mostly like your college experience. You come to the league, and it feels like he never really like took that like leap that I think that guy started. Like he was supposed to be KD. That was the idea. Was that he was going to come in and basically be light skinned Kevin Durant. He just like never became that guy. Um, so I think that they're them kind of being like, all right, we're done with the Michael Porter Jr. experiment is like a really interesting look. But I do think when you're looking at roster construction, Bruce Brown, Cam Johnson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Jonas Valanciunas, like very good, solid rotational pieces to really fill out that team. I think that team is very interesting. They're very deep, and they're going to be a
Yeah.
problem. I like for
Kendall,
sure.
what did you think about that move? Because it like talking about Denver, man, like they were just like a year or so off of winning a championship, and then they fired their coach mid-season. Who like,
Mhm.
what did you think about that? Like,
I am always I really hate stuff like that when that happens, especially because like, so it's hard, right? As an outsider, you don't know what's going on in the locker room, right? If Mike Malone just lost the team, then you just really can't do anything about it. I do think that it's always kind of like a difficult spot to put an interim coach in, especially on a contending team in the middle of the year. But it seemed to be that they
Middle of the
responded
year, it
well.
was 2 weeks before the playoffs.
Right, right. So the end of the year,
it was
basically.
so
Right.
weird.
Yeah,
Like
true. Right.
something
Right.
went down. That was definitely some like
Two
backroom.
weeks before the playoffs,
Something happened.
something very big had to happen. 2 weeks before the
I'm
playoffs is
sure that,
crazy.
It was
4 or 5 years
nuts,
from now,
man.
we'll get the expose where somebody is like, "This is what happened in the locker room when
Yeah.
there was
It'll
a
be a 30 for
riot and
30
blah
for
blah
sure.
blah." Right,
No, dude, he
exactly.
probably did some Brett Favre, man. He showed a picture of something
Yeah,
that should have
absolutely.
showed
He
something
made them
too,
all
man. It's like,
pray
yo,
or
you gotta go,
something,
bro.
something
Like,
Mark Jackson version or something
Yeah,
wild.
exactly. Right. It
yeah.
was something crazy. I'm sure we'll see it, but I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
from the standpoint, like
Because it didn't kind of like it didn't like on a philosophy team standpoint, it didn't make no sense.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
it does. Especially because like it's so late in the year. It's not like you're looking at a coach who's going to install a whole bunch of new stuff because you
They ran
can't.
the
It's just
same
like too
thing.
late into the year,
And it's not
right?
like they were like buried. They were still in contention.
Contender. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So it's like,
Ah,
I
weird,
think that
man.
Denver obviously did not, um, they didn't make the finals, right? I think that's like that team's always at this point is like championship or bust every year. Especially when you have a guy like Jokic as like kind of running the show there. That team is very interesting going into next year. It'll be very interesting to see like how that depth plays out, getting a whole season with the new coach and seeing
Yeah.
what goes there. But that's like my team to watch right now. That's a boring answer because it's
I'm
Denver, but it's
no worries,
interesting to
man.
me.
Can I ask a question though?
Yeah, man. What up?
Do you think it's too late for Denver though? Because like a perfect example, they brought Bruce Brown back. I mean, yeah, they brought him back. Is it already too late? Because why didn't you
I,
just re-sign him 2 years ago when you had the chance?
I don't think that I think that if I here's the thing. I think the 2022 Warriors showed that it's never really too late if you get everything clicking the right way and people contribute at the level you need them to contribute, right? So I think that after um KD leaves and plays and blah blah blah. These things happen. People are all right. Championship window's closed. It's over, right? Like this team's done. They got to break the whole thing up, retool it, right? I don't think. I think in the NBA, especially like when you have like injuries and you have 7 game series and you have random role players going off and things like that, you always have a chance. I do think Jokic is still the best player in the league. So anytime you have the best player in the league, you have a chance to um do anything really. Obviously, right, you're like, well, why not just re-sign the guy at the time? Sure. But I do think that from a construction standpoint, I just think the roster is really well balanced. And I think that in playoff time, even if you're shrinking a rotation, having guys like that available to you means a lot down the stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, like with that team, I feel like they just really just reconstructed the same exact team. Like, yes, you get rid of Michael Porter Jr., but you bring in a Cam Johnson that's just very similar. You
Hmm.
bring back Bruce Brown, who literally you had with that playoff run. So I feel like you're just really just bringing back the same team you had 2 years ago. And I think that team does not contend with the teams that they have going into the NBA now. That's what I
I
mean
think
by
that might
the
be
window closes, because I just don't feel like they made enough moves or anything to make it to where like, oh, we're a complete team that could 10. I feel like you're just like, hey, we know it worked 2 years ago, so we're just gonna recreate that exact same team. We're just gonna change a few names, but they are the same players. I mean,
that could also be a
it
coaching.
could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like a coaching thing as well, right? Like when you're
Yeah,
looking at like constructing the team, maybe that's when the coach goes in there and says, okay, I need like these types of guys, right? So like maybe the names don't like jump out at you, but if you have like an idea of like how you want the team to run and what you want your offense to look like, or sorry, your like strategy to look like, you're like, okay, if I get like these guys in this positions, then I can make this schematically work, right? Like
yeah.
I think that might be more so the idea there from Denver's standpoint is like, yeah, you're not looking at like, oh my God, I can't believe they signed Tim Hardaway Jr. We're like about to get like, spanked now. It's more so like a Tim provides this for us. We like it in these situations, and it fills out that way.
Yeah, I can
Man,
agree
all
with
right,
that.
fellas. I got two. Man, you guys are on fire. But look, so I got two things that are on my brain. All right. So for one, the Knicks fire their coach. The Knicks go on a playoff run, beat the Pistons, who took them to the brink. But then the Knicks were pretty close to really making a pretty decent run. They look pretty good. Fire their coach. Got a new coach. How much? And I'll start with you, man. Like, okay, how much does a coach really matter in the NBA? Because we just talked about that you just fired Mike Malone in Denver, and now the Knicks, they looked like they were about to like go on a run, and they fired Thibodeau, bringing another, like a retread basically, um, and a coach. He's what I think this is his 37th team that he's coached for. Um, right? Like, dude, what do these coaches and what do these coaching moves really mean in the NBA? And I'll start with you, Zoo, and I would like you to answer the same question, Kendall.
I think a good coach always matters. Do I think it's as important as um, good chemistry? No, but I think you need a good coach and able to have good chemistry. Because if the coach isn't able to hold the locker room in place or to hold X and O's in the right correction, I don't think you can really have anything go far. I mean, we have seen multiple teams go through coaches like periods. I mean, I'm just trying to think of
Yeah.
something, but we've had the Bucks go through three coaches in the last year and a half. Like coaching nowadays is it just happens. Like you can get rid of a coach and get another one in 2 days. It's not hard, but just because you get a new coach doesn't mean it's a good coach. So I
Yeah.
think a good coach still does matter. But in today's NBA, because coaches come in and out so much, I don't think it's hard to find a good coach or a great coach. I think it's really just more on, like I said, more team chemistry and how
Yeah.
well it meshes with that team chemistry.
And I ride with that too, man, because my favorite coach of all time, one of my favorite teams of all time is the 2004 Pistons. And there's a very famous it's like a video clip, but it's inside a timeout. And I don't remember the exact game or the exact scenario, but there's a moment where Larry Brown, he just looks at his team and he goes, I just want you to know that I love you. And they go out and they just do the impossible and they, win the championship. I'm not saying it was that moment, whatever, but there is a very specific uh clip out there. And the time he literally took a timeout, gathered his team around and said, take a moment. I want you to know that I love you. And that was it. Like and then these dudes, everybody knows what the 2004 Pistons did. Like, but then guess what? Dude gets fired 2 years later or whatever, man, because the culture changed or it was not gonna fit no more. Like, dude, like why? Like, what? It's just nuts, man. How
Or you
these
can you can
coaches,
even talk about the
like,
Pistons in today's world. Look at Monty Williams. Monty Williams went from being in the finals a year before that, got
yeah, that
fired,
dude did not look
went
like he wanted to
there.
be here,
We
man.
didn't love him here, but when he was in the Suns, they considered him a great coach. He
Yeah,
got here, although I liked a great decision for him that he came here. There was we won 14 games. JB Biggerstaff leaves Cleveland. He
yeah.
comes here. He makes them into a contending
I
team.
don't know. Yeah, Bickerstaff he's another like retread coach too, man. It's
Yeah.
like there's a lot of these dudes out here. But he did. I'm a huge Bickerstaff fan now because he did. He came in here and he changed everything and brought us to the playoffs, dude. So I'm a Bickerstaff fan now. But he
But see,
got booted out of
to
Cleveland
me, I
because he
don't agree
couldn't
with
take
that.
him over the hump.
I don't think Biggerstaff changed a lot. I think the same thing Monty Williams already doing. I think he just kept adding to it, and the chemistry that the team already had just kept growing. Because like we were saying, the Pistons we were young, so we're just a year older. A lot of those games that we were close to that we lost when we had 14 wins, there was a lot of those games we were very, very close. We lost by a margin. Most of our games we lost were a margin of 4 points. So you get another coach who knows how to draw off them X's and O's in the last 2 minutes. You get a few other guys or a few vets. That makes a difference in the NBA.
Man, you're right about that. What do you think, Kendall, man? Like, how much do you think coaching, especially with the way these coaches get A, recycled from one team to another, and B, just fired on a whim? How much do you think coaching matters in the NBA?
I think coaching is something that is, I think the difference between like coaching, I think, in the NFL and the NBA is I think coaching in the NBA matters a lot more before the game. And I think that in the NFL, coaching matters a lot more in game. And what I mean by that is that like in the NBA, because we're talking 5-on-5, players have more individual effect on the way the game plays out, right? At the end of the day, you've got to have like the guys to get the job done. Players have to make shots, be in the right position, make the right choices, right? In the NFL, I think there's a lot more of a adjustments and in-game decision making that matters more because the individual impact outside of a guy like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson is a lot less amplified. So when I look at like coaches getting fired. I think it's like, in the NBA you have like the concept of like the tank commander coach. So the coach who is only there because this team needs to suck for like 3 years so they can like
Yeah.
accumulate picks. And then once the team like hits the upswing, they're gonna fire that guy and get rid of
Steve
go
Nash.
with right exactly who is going to like move to the next one, right? And I think it's the same thing when you have like the retreads, right? So a guy like Tibbs or a guy like who was just coaching for Milwaukee, whose name is escaping me right now. The like guys like that who are more so kind of like guys who are made to take a team that is bubbling up, make them real contenders, and then maybe you got to bring the young guy in to get him over the hump because he has like good strategy or new ideas that like can affect the league. So I think that like to Anthony's point, as the players play together on the court, chemistry will build. But I think that the purpose of coaching in the NBA is to making sure the personalities mesh, right?
Yeah.
Um, Phil Jackson didn't need to teach any of those guys how to play basketball. They
Nope.
had that part under control. His job was to keep everybody copacetic up until the game started. And then you don't have to do much, right? You let Kobe work, you let Shaq work, you let Michael Jordan work. They'll figure it out on the court, right? So I think that that is like the biggest thing is that like coaching is more so about managing personalities in the NBA and keeping cohesion together. And then once it's gone on the court, like so, for example, right? I keep bringing up the Warriors, but I know this is the Detroit sports podcast, but I think it's a good example, right? So the Houston Warriors series, people were really getting hard on Steve Kerr about what do you do about Steven Adams, right? The change that Ime Udoka made to basically feature Steven Adams more was really giving them a problem, right? What Steve Kerr can't do anything about the fact that the roster has no real centers on it. He can't coach his way really out of that point. That the fact that the team doesn't have secondary shot creation, bad spacing, and no centers, right? So it's like you only have so much control over a situation from like a coaching standpoint. That's why I think that's like devalued in like a game to game sense. But throughout a season, and I think that's why when we talk about Mike Malone getting randomly fired, that's a locker room thing. Mike Malone can coach a basketball game. That's not his issue.
Yeah.
It was something that happened in the locker room, but clearly that got him out of there. So that's where I kind of stand on coaching in the NBA.
Yeah,
But if you don't make
it's
those adjustments in a game, is that to blame on the coach or the team? Like on the players, or is that more to like for like you said, the
well, it's
Steven Adams?
got man. You got like you. All right, man. That's a good question, man. But you got it. Like in-game strategy is a huge part of it, man. Like, cause yeah, like not everybody has Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan might be having an off night. It's on the coach in-game strategy to
And
figure
make
out
those
what are
adjustments.
they doing and what can I do to combat that. Like That has to be that's the thing that goes on every time. And like Kendall, you made a great point. Like, yeah, like Jordan and Kobe and Shaq, they're gonna do what they do. But when they're getting shut down, like it is time for in-game strategy, man. Like, and some coaches are really good at it, and some coaches aren't, man. Like,
So here's my caveat to that, right? Like, if I'm a coach and I scheme up the craziest out of timeout play you've ever seen in your life, and I give my best player a wide open shot and he bricks it, is that my fault?
no,
It
not
Right.
will be.
no, the player missed it,
Right.
but
But in the long term, when we talk about it on this podcast, right, we'll look at it like, oh, well, that guy got fired because he didn't win X, Y, and Z,
That's what I
right?
mean. It will be.
You're right, exactly. So at some point, it will be my fault, right? So I can do as a coach, I can put you in. That's what I say. Like in the NFL, things a lot more are predictive, right? If we took the players out of it in the NFL, we call two plays. We can basically know from like certain coverages and alignments, is a play going to work or not for the most part,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's one of the things that like elite quarterbacks are good at or great at, right? Is looking at alignment and being like, okay, I got to get to a different play because I know this play won't work against this look, right? In the NBA, a lot of things are a lot more reactive, right? So it's
Yeah.
like from the standpoint of coaching in game, you can make whatever adjustments you want. I still need to make sure that Malik Beasley doesn't drop the ball when it's passed to him, right? I can't do anything about that, right? Like I can't make a guy not dribble the ball, can't dribble the ball off his
Well,
foot or throw it out of
Kendall, you
bounds or
could
stuff
loan
like that.
Malik Beasley $1 million, and then maybe he catches that ball and shoots it in the basket like he was supposed to
I
do.
think maybe you want to look at what his props were for the game and see if that was on purpose or not. Right. But that's like to me in coaching in the NBA is like you
Uh,
can only do so much before
Yeah,
it
I
comes
agree
down
with
to
that.
like, are your
yeah,
guys good enough to get the job done?
yeah.
Right. When we played New York, I don't think JB Bickerstaff coached poorly. I think our guys weren't ready for those moments at the end of the game to close those games out.
Yeah, and look, they took him 6 games, and like it was a hell of a series, man. Like,
Yeah.
so he coached. Okay, so like we can round that one. I got one. I know we're getting up against it here, fellas. I do got one more question though, man, because I had two questions when I was thinking like, God, like an hour ago, I think it was. No, man. But I love this, man, dude. I knew this is gonna be good, man. I got two hoopers, man. Oh, I love it. Okay, so last question, man, and for me it is, and it's who is the face? Because we were talking about like players and like you and I, we love Dame Dollar, like, and it sounds like you probably a Kendall fan or uh,
Curry.
Kevin Durant fan, right? Or what, Steph Curry or whoever
He's
was
a Curry
any of
fan.
them old
I'm a
Warriors,
Curry
man.
fan,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But now the question is, I feel that and Anthony Edwards is the new face of this league. He's got everything. He's got the skill. He's got the determination. He plays defense. Obviously, he talks stuff. He's got that charisma. He's already been in a movie. That movie with Adam Sandler where, dude, man, like, dude, him talking shit. That wasn't him acting. That was him on the court. Just like that's how he is every day. Is Anthony Edwards the new face of the league? And if not, who? Uh, Anthony, I'll start with you. If not Anthony Edwards, who is the face of the NBA going forward?
I agree with you. He does have all those things, but he also has four baby mamas.
That's exactly what I was going to say too.
So we, I'm just gonna call a spade a spade, Um, so because of that, and that's all he has. He doesn't have a wife. He's not even in three of the kids' life that has out of the four. So those off the court, I think, will hinder him from being the face of the NBA because the NBA does care about that a lot. Do I like Anthony Edwards? Do I think the player he is, do I think he fits the mold of what the NBA would want as a face of the league? 1,001%. But do I think he will be the face of the league? No, because of those reasons. I think that is a big reason because everything off the court You hear nothing about that. Baby mama 1 talks about baby mama 3. Baby mama 2 doesn't like it because baby mama 4 got a new car. They will always just outdo one another, unfortunately. Because of that, the two people that I think are supposed to be or that could be the face of the league, one, if he didn't go down this year with an injury, Jason Tatum. I think the trajectory that he's been on lately for the last few years, I think it shows he is the guy that could be the face of the league. He fits exactly every single thing that you want to knock off the list. He has all the things that you're saying that Anthony Edwards has, and then he has the off-court issues. He doesn't carry those issues. His son is loved by the NBA and everybody in the NBA, so that does help as well. Because he went down, I think that pushes his time lamps back a little. Not saying he still can't be, but right now, I mean, the man just swept the league. So that person, I think right now that's being pushed would be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He literally fits everything, and like I said, he just swept the league. He won every
Can we
award.
give it to a Canadian though?
It's the closest thing to being American.
Tom, stop burning my talking points before my turn.
It's the closest thing being to American. I agree with that. He is Canadian, but I mean, what the last 6 out of 7 MVPs have been overseas guys. So does that really matter to the NBA anymore?
Nah, I don't.
Not much. I mean, there was a time where they tried to push Giannis. He just doesn't speak much. So his freakiness just doesn't. What they expect the freak to do wasn't so much he was expected to do. I think he's more quiet, and I think a small market team that Shai plays for, and with him doing all that, I think that might be good for the NBA to see a small market team blow up with the face of the league kind of guy.
Yeah. It's a good point, man. All right, Ken, I'm sorry. I said everything you were going to say, I guess, but if you got anything else to say about that, go ahead.
Well, I'm really glad you asked this because I think this is a really important point in the NBA right now.
Yeah,
I think it
Because
is because we're yeah, like not to cut you off, man.
because
But
right now it's wide
like
open.
it's LeBron, dude. Like it was LeBron's league for 20 years, man. Like who's next, man?
so here's the thing, right? Here's the issue that the NBA has. Like Anthony mentioned and like you kind of led with, Ant is supposed to be the guy. He's got too much off the court baggage right now. Jason Tatum has the talent, but I don't think he has the personality. And
Agreed.
I think that Shea and Luca and Jokic and Giannis are all foreigners, and the US is still the NBA's biggest market, so it's hard to sell foreigners, even if Shea is Canada is not really super foreign, but it's still not, he's not a US born player. The problem for the league right now is that the faces of the league have been the same guys for the last 15, 20 years. It's the most marketable players are still LeBron, Steph, and KD, and they're all in their late 30s, or if you're LeBron, you're 40 already, right? So it's like, what do you do? The other guy that had contention to be for it was Ja. Well, then Ja had all of his issues too. And also Memphis didn't ever really make the jump to be contending basketball team, right? So you don't even have like that to lean on. I think that this is a real problem for the NBA is that like unless you can get the greater public to not really care about the fact that Shea is Canadian, you're in a hard time looking for stars because, you know, Jokic doesn't want to be the media guy. Giannis doesn't really want to be the media guy. Luca doesn't necessarily want to be the media guy either. And none of these guys are from the US, which I think that the face of the league pretty much, at least at this point in time, is always going to have to be like an American born player. And it's hard to identify who that like guy is going to be moving forward. Now, do I think that with enough PR can Ant get there? Yes, especially if he either wins an MVP or wins a championship. I do think that the NBA can spin it enough to make it like, they did a good enough job of hiding Michael Jordan being a gambling addict for 20 years, right? I think they can figure out a way to hide Ant's kids for 18. I think they can figure it out, right? But I think that requires a little bit more depth to figure that out. And I do think that like the NBA is in a really tough spot because the talent level in the league is very high. We're probably in the most skilled era
Yeah. Oh
ever.
yeah.
But when it comes to marketable stars, there just isn't really a lot of guys right now who you can like lean on, especially from like the upper echelon of players. Like I mentioned, you're looking at
I
like
know a guy
the
who's a really good 3-point shooter who was just on an up and coming team. You know, like,
He has gambling problems though.
yeah, I was waiting for somebody, man. I was waiting to see who was going to catch that one first.
He got off the court problems.
He got off the court problems.
yeah, Malik got a lot of problems.
So how? Hey, for real though, man. Okay, not everybody's gonna be LeBron, man. Not everybody can spend half their day in a hyperbaric chamber and the rest of the day,
Can I ask this question though?
you know, like,
How early do we have to worry about the face of the league though? Because
I
like you
think
were saying,
right
now, I think it's time. I
right
think
now,
next season,
you
like
think
the
right
so?
league
now.
needs a
Because like you were
star.
saying, LeBron, you got LeBron, Steph, KD. Out of the three, when do you think their last year will be? Maybe the next two.
Bro, none of them even made the second round of the playoffs, though, man. Like,
Yeah, but two of them wasn't. All three of them were all NBA players.
yeah, but listen, man. Once again, like even though this series, what for basketball people, this playoffs were pretty awesome. And the Indiana OKC finals was pretty good. It went game seven. One of the most least watched of all time again. Except I guess which one? Our favorite one, the Spurs Pistons, man.
Yeah.
And guess why? Because there were no stars, right?
Yeah,
Now,
but
they're
does
all
but
stars to us, dude. The going to work boys are all stars to us. But that 2000 or I'm sorry, the 2005 when we actually lost to the Spurs is one of the least watch of all time. If still that, but I think the OKC Indiana they that might have either pushed it or broke it, man, because there were no where's LeBron, where's Michael Jordan, where like where's Magic and Bird, like, and I think a lot of these old heads I don't know, man. It's hard. Like the NBA doesn't have that. Boom, watch this because there is no Steph versus LeBron when neither of them are in even the second round, and when these guys are the stars of your league and they can't even make the second round, and nobody can really tell you who is in those finals. Like, listen, man, not you guys, but I would poll a million people in America and say, "Can you name three Indiana Pacers?" What do you think the percentage of that would be?
I don't even think a lot of people who be able to tell you who Tyrese Halliburton is, and he's the most famous one. And I tried a little mini experiment with that where I asked a couple non-basketball fans, like, if I said Tyrese Halliburton to you, do you know who that is? And they didn't know who he was, right? I think that to your point, when you bring up like, so I think that sports marketing is a lot like I'm a wrestling fan, right? So I think sports and a lot like sports learned a lot of its marketing, like basketball, football, stuff like that. Learned a lot of its marketing from boxing and wrestling, right? People love storylines, right?
yeah,
Yeah, oh yeah.
When the Warriors and Cavs were going back to back finals every year, was it the most interesting product for the hardcore NBA fan? Maybe not necessarily, but for the general public, we basically got the two biggest stars in the league, and then you add Kevin Durant in there, for right going at it every year. The storylines are crazy. Like you said, Magic and Bird, right? Jordan, the dynasty Bulls and stuff like that. The 3P Lakers. These are storylines you could sell to people, right? I think that that's the problem with the NBA right now is that like there aren't any like great storylines from the younger guys that you can really sell to anybody. Obviously, like a lot of that stuff takes time to build up, right? And we haven't had enough like super competitive repeat series, right? Like I think something that was interesting was Dallas and the Clippers from a couple of years ago, and those teams running into each other in the playoffs, right? I mean, those that was like an interesting storyline. Obviously, trades and stuff happen kind of blows that whole thing up, right? Like you have things that were interesting that become kind of not interesting anymore, and I think that that's the NBA's problem is that like they don't have the interest level there that they use. So I think even the NFL is kind of suffering from this a little bit too. And I know this isn't really like an NFL podcast in this episode, but I think just to bring it in for a second, I think that in both leagues, you are kind of missing like but like at least the NFL has the benefit of Kansas City can kind of be the villain team, right? So like the story every year is like, well, who's going to beat Kansas City, or can anyone beat Kansas City for the NBA?
They got the Bills right there too, and you got Baltimore. I mean, you got three in the AFC and plus like
But I
football is
think that
so
I think
king right
the
now.
issue, like you were saying, Kendall. I think that's the issue. Storylines. I don't think it's about the face of the NBA right now. I think that is the main issue that the NBA is dealing with. Is who who is who is the rival? Because like we were saying, every year it's been a new champion.
Yeah.
So can you even put the face of the NBA on anybody when every year for the last 6, 7 years, it's been a new champion. Every year in the last 6, 7 years, it's been a new person to the finals. It's hard to put the face on anybody when you don't even know who's going to make it to the finals. Like that, I think that's the big issue that we have. Like you were saying, it's about more storylines rather than more of a face guy. Because I think the face in NBA, I think we don't really make that. I don't think that needs to be something that we need to figure out today. Because I don't think the NBA isn't that much of a haul. I think you have LeBron for a few more years. I think you have KD for a few more years and Curry. I think even with them being out the NBA, you'll still hear their name around the NBA. So I think for the next 5 to 8 years, I don't think you have to stress about finding the face of the NBA. I think it's more finding out those storylines in the NBA. I think a good one is OKC. With OKC still being young, I think you should build on that and find out who's the storyline against them.
And I
And
think it's dude, and I'm telling you, fellas, man, I think it's Cade. I think it's
and
Cade
that's what I was about to say. I
shining.
think the
This is a
Pistons is the
young,
next
up
big
and
need
coming
because they're
team
young.
from Detroit basketball. Like people love us, man. Like, and I get like we're the most unwatched, whatever, but people know the history of Detroit basketball, and we're up and coming, and people started rooting for us like nationally, like that Knicks Pistons series was phenomenal, and Cade looks the part. Like when you talk about off field, off court issues, or like can he talk to the media? Like he can do all that, man. Do you guys see, man? He was on oh my God, I shared it on my social media because it was absolutely hilarious. He did something on Jimmy Kimmel, this little commercial.
Yeah,
It was
I
funny.
seen
Did
that.
you see that? The battery, yeah. Sparky got the power. Like, dude, that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. And it was Cade. Hey, I'm All Star Cade Cunningham here for the battery, huh?
But enable for them to build or enable for them to make him the face, like we were just saying earlier, he needs that storyline. They need to make a deeper run
That
in the playoffs.
storyline is him building up Detroit basketball from the dead. Like, and I think
But
the
he
NBA,
has
that's
to
something they
bring
can
that.
rally
He has to make
around.
them from the dead though. One good season ain't gonna make that.
Well, that's what it is, though. Well, you're right about
That's
that.
a
It's
start.
not
That's a
one good season.
build.
The future is bright for now. Like K's gotta lead this team into the promised land.
Yeah. Because
But
that was a conversation 2 years ago. Oh, should we trade Cade away to get all great assets back because he's had so many injuries? And
yeah,
then when he played good this year, everyone was like, "Oh, I'm glad we didn't trade him because he's the best thing that we've had since such and such." So
yep.
I'm glad we ended up keeping Cade instead of trading him. But like I said, one good season isn't going to make you the face of the NBA. Shea has been
One of
Shea has been doing what he's been doing for the last 3 years at least, and we're now even considering him the face of the NBA. So I think Cade has to keep building on it, and I think if he does, because the East is so wide open, he could be able to take that realm.
I really
I
do, man.
want to touch on something real quick because I think that it does matter. Roster construction for teams is a lot different now than it used to be because of the changes to the CBA and when you have first apron and second apron in the luxury tax, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is making it very difficult for teams to stay together. So when you look at a team like OKC, who you think you might have potentially three max guys between Shea, Jalen, and Chet potentially, right? And if you have to make a choice on can we max all three and then have no one else, or do we try to move somebody and keep the roster together? Makes it more difficult for teams to stay together and repeat. I think it does add a level of somewhat hindrance to the storylines because you may not necessarily have reoccurring characters in that way, right? I
Yeah.
think that to your guys' point, the Detroit is a very interesting, really fun story right now, much like the Lions and also much like the Tigers, right? We're in a really great Detroit sports renaissance right now,
Yeah.
but it's about consistently being like competitive and also like, are you building every year, right? So like Pistons have to get out of the first round this year, right? Detroit has to be basically back in the NFC Championship game, if not like in the Super Bowl, right? Like the Tigers have to win, maybe make a deep run in the baseball playoffs as well. You got to like keep building upon
Yeah,
that.
build on
I
it.
think Cade could be a potential face of the league candidate, right? If he opens up more, we start to see more of Cade's personality, especially if Detroit is winning consistently. He'd be a great, choice for that. Especially building up a franchise like Detroit, because like Tom mentioned, like we've been so bad that people want to root for us. So it's nice to have like things going in that direction. I think that um ultimately, like Anthony said, is it a problem you have to solve overnight? No. I do think it's a little bit more dire than I think you have, because I think that, to me, you see it as like a 5 to 8 year problem. I really see it as a more of a 2 to 3 year problem of like, you got to sell the league still, especially when we talk about media rights deals and these contracts. Like, you got to have people engaged still. How do you keep the people engaged? The basketball fans will stay engaged because the talent level is there, right? But how do you get like the guy who is only watching ESPN night games once a week because that's like what's on TV? How do you get him to watch the whole game? You know
You
what I'm
got
saying?
Ja, you got AD, you got the guys that, yeah, they can't be the face of the league, but like we said, they bring that personality, bring that face. Ja's
Yeah.
number 2 in sneaker sales.
Hmm.
Them kids ain't watching no basketball games, but they know what Ja Morant is. They
Absolutely.
gonna gritty, they gonna dance, they gonna do all they.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know what I'm saying, that face in the
TikTok
NBA.
edits and all that.
That's a problem, like because of the gun stuff, man. Like, is that I bet the NBA is like, oh man, like, is it?
But that's
Maybe we
my
don't
point.
want Ja.
That's my
He's
point.
like,
Sometimes the face in NBA isn't usually your biggest star. Unfortunately, that's just how the NBA sometimes works. Your most valuable player in your NBA is not your most valuable player off the court right now.
yeah,
Your top 3 most valuable guys in the league are not your top 3 valuable guys off the court. None of them, your top 3 guys will never be the face of your league. Giannis, uh, Joker, and even if you want to name Joel Embiid at times, no, not none of them 3 guys will ever be the face of your league. They just don't fit that persona, but they will be the face of. They will be the biggest stars in your NBA. Sometimes your face won't be that biggest guy. But like we were saying, storylines do matter. If Ja was able to make a deep run or to be able to make it to the second, third round in the NBA finals, NBA playoffs every year, I think he could be the face of the NBA. Unfortunately, he just can't make that because where he's at, and
Injury
it
as well.
revolts so,
injury,
man.
whatever
Suspension.
Think about
ACL
it, man.
push
Before all
pertain that.
the gun stuff, man, dude, all you saw was like the his game, and he had that electrifying
Everybody loved
presence.
Ja.
I did too, man, dude. I watched him
My
in
mom knew who
college,
Ja
man. Was
was,
it
and she don't
Murray
even watch.
State or
She don't
something
even watch
crazy? Where did he
basketball. My mom knew
play?
who Ja Morant was.
What?
My mom knew who Ja Morant was, and she don't
Yeah,
even.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, where do you? It was Murray State, right? Wasn't it at school?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Then they make that crazy run in the
that's what I'm saying. Like he
college.
had
And we thought,
everything
I
going
thought for
for him.
sure, man. And he was on that trajectory. And then all of a sudden he's on, YouTube or just flashing that gun. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing, bro?
Maybe I am over exaggerating. I think 2 to 3 years, you might be right. That is when I think I got to start figuring out. But I think with
Oh
OK,
yeah, no, it's time right now. The NBA is in the freaking lab right now trying to figure out how to
I
fix it.
think that it just came to me. If Cooper Flag plans out and he is who they want him to be, the NBA has solved the problem already. Like if
true.
Cooper Flag is like a guy, all-star level player in 2 to 3, 5 years, right at the end of his first contract,
Yeah.
if Dallas is competitive, whatever the roster may look like at that point, and Cooper Flag is like the guy, I think that
If he is as
basically,
good as advertised, Dallas could be right back up there,
and
man.
I think you have your
People will
American
completely
born.
forget about the Luka trade, dude.
Yeah, like you have your American
If
born
Davis
high
and
level
Flag could just
player.
become like the twin, like David Robinson and
Tim
uh
Duncan.
Tim Duncan, yeah, man. If they become like the Twin Towers, dude, it could be a wrap, especially with Kyrie like holding traffic, dude.
Kendall, you might be
So
onto something. You might
So
be
I
right
think
about that.
so. We might have the
Everybody
answer. It's
loves,
just
hey,
Cooper
no
Flag
offense
has
to
to
my
be the
Mexican
guy.
friend and to my black friend, but everybody loves the Great White Hope, buddy.
100%. I was literally about to say the same thing, and the biggest thing is he's a white dude. But here's the thing that's
A
nice
big
about
white dude at
Cooper.
that too.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Cooper. Cooper got a little sauce to him. He's not like pasty white.
No,
It's a
yeah.
little off white sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And I think that
Like, did he
because he's
grow up listening to gangster rap?
it seems like it a little bit, right? Like he might have some young boy in his on his Apple Music, like wrap up at the end of the year. I think that he's a I think if he pans out and he becomes the guy that he's advertised to be, he will end up and if he stays out of trouble, he's got to stay out of trouble. He'll probably end up that'll be the guy who the NBA will hitch the wagon to and be like, okay, you're the guy now.
But okay, and
It's not a
honestly, like
that's
I
not a
joke
bad
about
take.
like color, nationality, whatever, but or whatever. But if Cooper Flag is just slightly what they think he's going to be, and the NBA forces it down your throat, is it going to feel forced, especially to the non-white community?
I think it'll only be a feel of force if he's not really hooping. So if he ends up being like a 15 and 8 type of guy instead of being like a 25 and 10 type of guy, then it'll feel like, all right, like there's like a bunch of guys who are doing this and they're not getting this level of push. But you get to mid 20s, averaging that double double, being a real difference maker out there. I think a lot of it will kind of naturally happen on its own. The NBA won't have to do much. I think really primarily outside of like being a white dude, but I think beyond that, he's from America. So people will naturally latch on to that because he'll kind of I think it'll almost be like a nationalism patriotic thing, right? Like, oh, we got to stand behind like the high level American born player because we got all these foreigners running the league right now, right?
Yeah.
So like if he gets into that conversation, the money and the narratives will like build themselves, especially in that market for sure. I think that in that Dallas market, I think that he's just got to play well enough to deserve that level of hype, and I think everything will basically take care of itself from there, right? For LeBron, right? You come out of Cleveland, no one cares about Cleveland, but you lived up to expectations and exceeded them, right? Steph came in the league, tumultuous start, became, in my opinion, the GOAT point guard, but like he's become this guy now. From that, you don't have to do a lot. Guys just have to play well enough for people to feel like they deserve to get talked about the way they get talked about.
And he already has a storyline because remember he was supposed to make Team USA.
Yeah.
So he already does have a storyline.
And he played for Duke. So
Yep.
that
So people
also
already do love him, and yeah, he
And
plays
I
for a
think he
blue
was the
collar
only,
team.
he was the second, was he on the cover of Sport? Was he like, was he on, he was the LeBron, like, because did he get on the cover of Sports Illustrated? I feel like he was the second high school kid to ever get on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and the other one was LeBron. I know
No,
there
he's
was a
not.
lot of scenarios about that. I might be wrong on that one exactly, but dude,
Yeah.
this kid was getting talked about as the next huge thing when he was like 13, something like that. So like his storyline has been written already. We're gonna see.
just got to hoop. That's all you got to do is hoop.
So let me ask you: if he averages, let's say, 16 and 8 this year, is that a good year for him?
For a rookie, absolutely.
Yeah,
I
for a
agree.
rookie, yeah.
Even if he averages like 14 and 8 to me, I think that's a good year.
I,
With the team that he has, I think that's a good year.
I think that as long as he's not legitimately terrible, he's an insta lock for rookie of the year.
Yeah.
And yeah, if he's anywhere north of 14 points and 6 boards, yeah, that's a great season
And
to
we've
start
seen
off
him,
with.
dude. We've seen this dude ball, dude. Like dude comes up clutch all the time, man. Like the dude can ball. Like he is legit. But now, man, okay, you got 1 year in the league. What he can't even drink a beer yet legally, right? Like,
Right
No.
now, I think.
it is okay to pump the brakes on, dude. The guy doesn't have to come in here and do, average 20 points and 15 rebounds, 6 blocks. We
And,
can't
and
pump the
on
brakes
that
for a minute, right?
and going to that team, I think that helps him because he can do exactly that. Just go out there and play.
And
Just
he's got
literally,
Anthony Davis. If
that's what I'm
he's,
saying.
if,
Just
I'm
go
saying, if
out there
he's
and
got a
play.
healthy Anthony Davis, that's gonna be nuts, man.
Just go out there and play.
Yeah,
I think him going to Dallas with the team that they have, I think that was the best for him with Lively, Gaffer, and all that. He don't have to be the biggest guy. He don't have to be that number one scorer with having AD and you got Clay and all them. I think they literally just tell him, hey, just go out there and just play. What you give us, as long as you're giving us a plus out there, we'll take it.
yeah,
He don't have to be the number one or number two guy right now. They have those guys. He just has to go out there and just play. I think him going to Dallas right now, he can learn from a lot of them older guys. He can learn from a lot of the young guys they have. Lively's still young, and Lively's already been progressing as he has been in the NBA. So he has guys around him that he could become that face. And like we said, he can't even drink yet. So he has nothing but time but to get in the gym.
yeah.
I think that the idea is the timeline is by the time he finishes his first contract, Kyrie will be gone for sure. AD will probably be gone at that point. The idea you hope is that he's playing at a high enough level where Dallas is like, okay, you're gonna have the keys now. We're gonna build around you, and we're gonna
Agreed.
really try to like elevate this whole thing. And I think that if they can do that, then the NBA will kind of have dealt with their star problem, and that will be looking at kind of what the way that the future of the league will be looking for a while there at that point.
Yeah. Fellas, this is everything I wanted it to be, man. I'm gonna wrap it up here. All right, man. Oh man, I could go. We're only gonna do an hour, man. I think we're on two now, almost, man. Oh man, what a beautiful thing. Ain't basketball fun?
Always.
Fellas. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up, man. But again, Anthony, Kendall, I want to thank you guys for joining me on this podcast. I hope we get to do it again real soon. Um, it is exactly what I thought it was gonna be, man. You guys know your hoops, man, and it was fun to talk. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, from my friend Kendall and my friend Anthony, my name is Tom Murphy Jr., and this has been another episode of the Detroit Sports Sit Down.